So DaBaby has had himself a little bit of a week.
To say the least.
I'm just gonna quote who is this? At Jahike. I messed that up on Twitter, but whatever. I'm just gonna post the tweet here. This DaBaby situation feels like we're in the middle of a Boondocks episode. And let me tell you, as I was producing both this and Power Report this weekend, I made 5 blocks in Power Report. Usually it's a 4-block episode or like 4 different stories. And there's 5 in there, so it's already like a lot of work. This felt like the secret 6th block of Power Report. There are so many angles and twists and turns to this DaBaby saga thing that happened basically last week as we were kind of recording the podcast. It was kind of just hitting this fever pitch and then just continued on throughout the week. That putting it all together, I've basically just given Aaron Magruder, creator of the Boondocks, which is allegedly having a reboot spinoff thing happening on HBO, AT&T Max sometime soon. Hopefully he's got a nice little layout for the story of Gangstalicious 3, thanks to the video that we're gonna do.
Yes, I hope this gives him the ammunition he needs to do it, because this is definitely the story of Gangstalicious Part 3.
Yeah. We began the story at Rolling Loud, Miami.
Where, this is one of my favorite stories of the entire year, by the way.
This is like, we've said it before. It's like a favorite thing we say on Audioface. It's not TV, it's HBO. This is really good shit. So just strap in, okay? So at Rolling Loud Miami last week, Meg the Stallion was doing a show. Like, she was just on the bill. Also on the bill shortly afterwards was DaBaby, who was, just doing his performance and doing all these different things. And, it's very common for artists to bring out special guests during really big performances, especially when they're headlining. And very shortly after Meg the Stallion was doing her show, we all know Meg the Stallion and Tory Lanez' relationship with the alleged foot shooting incident, et cetera, et cetera. We've covered that very much on Audioface. But yeah, DaBaby chose to very freshly in that crowd that was very much just there for Meg the Stallion, like not only there for Meg the Stallion, but like it's a festival crowd, so like they'd seen a lot of artists, and Meg the Stallion was just there. Tory Lanez comes on, there's a lot of booze in the crowd, and someone throws a shoe as a result of this at DaBaby.
DaBaby gets the George W. treatment. He has to get the jujitsu move of like, I'm okay. I'm okay. The infamous press conference, and it is brilliant because it shows you that the world listens to Audioface, and people hate Tory Lanez, which is good because you should.
Yeah, DaBaby, like it's kind of unclear what the it's kind of unclear what the motive is, but once a noted little bitch Daystar Peterson, aka Tory Lanez, was revealed to be in the like little costume, whatever he was in, and taken out on stage. Someone threw the Adidas, DaBaby. There's too many DaBabies. Said, who the fuck threw that motherfucking busted ass goddamn Adidas? And then DaBaby found the culprit, threatening to, quote, do a front flip in the mosh pit to attack them. Don't throw no more busted ass shoes, he warned. Which is an interesting threat considering DaBaby's history with violence at concerts and against fans randomly.
Yep.
I think we have this a little bit later, but at one point, he hit a woman at a concert and was arrested for battery after allegedly dumping apple juice in a concert promoter. I think we covered the apple juice thing, and it was just like kind of a random, like it was like barely like, it's like apple juice of all the things to get DaBaby on, because like he's had again, like there's the hitting a woman at a concert, like I weigh that more than the apple juice or whatever. It's not like the Jimmy Dore spit technique, but like whatever. DaBaby has also been accused of assaulting a hotel worker and an airport employee, though neither altercation led to charges. So DaBaby's like, when he makes threats, that's like an interesting sort of call to make. But really, the crux of this happened during later on in DaBaby's same like show, where he went on this long rant where, oh man.
You didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2-3 weeks. Put a cell phone light in the air. Lady, if your pussy smell like water, put a cell phone light in the air. Fellas.
Lights up.
Fellas, if you ain't sucking nigga dick in the parking lot, put your cell phone lights in the air.
Let's be real about this shit.
Yeah, keep it fucking real.
Some of y'all niggas suspect as a motherfucker. Let's be real.
Quote, If you didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that make you die in 2 and 3 weeks, put your cell phone right up. Ladies, if your pussy smell like water, put your cell phone light up. Fellas, if you ain't sucking dick in the parking lot, put your cell phone light up. And end quote. Before I continue, Sean, what have you got?
I got nothing, because it's just like, man's got some issues. If that's the things you're yelling at people to put your cell phone lights up to show some type of solidarity of what?
Yeah, like concerts or festivals or whatever, and they're supposed to be like unifying. I mean, they're places where capitalists charge people hundreds of dollars to have like unifying communal experiences and like really close quarters during a global pandemic. But if you're going to have a community over something and you're going to say like, hey, no one in the audience has AIDS.
Whoa.
or HIV. Like it's such a weird thing to go off of. And of course, a lot of it's like misinformation there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're also not expecting here to say like DaBaby should be on top of all this knowledge. But like, if you don't know what you're talking about, there's a lot of easy things to unite people, drunk people in an audience at a festival about, and doesn't have to touch gay people or any of this stuff. And so DaBaby jumped headfirst into a lot of hot water here. And so people will say, oh, this is the cancel police because DaBaby was saying the truth here. And like, well, let's just start from the bat here. He's not telling the truth. Whatever your beliefs on cancel culture, I think mine are very clear in saying that it doesn't really exist. I think last week when we talked about Morgan Wallen, who said the N-word in a drunken video and is number 3 on the pop charts currently in the United States right now in 2021.
An album this year that was pretty successful as well.
Yeah, I think that's a significant case to make that the use of cancel culture in this entire like thing here is a little bit overblown often. But that being said, there was a huge backlash here. DaBaby nevertheless decided to double down, and oftentimes the double down is where it really gets bad. But there's a triple down, there's a quadruple down, there's more. We're just getting started, yo. So. First tweet goes from DaBaby. I tell fans to put a cell phone light in the air and y'all start a 1,000,000-man march. I told y'all digested that wrong. I told you y'all digested that wrong, but I ain't gonna lie, I'm impressed. Now show that same amount of support when a racist cop killed one of our black ass, you're not. And so you get a lot of things to break down here. First of all, y'all start a 1,000,000-man march. It's like he's getting social media backlash. So he's taking the approach of, instead of apologizing or saying that like, what I could have said could have been wrong here, I'm going to take fault in what I said. He says, quoting here, I told y'all digested that wrong. So that's literally that's the old, I'm sorry you were offended kind of thing. As in like, I'm not apologizing for what I'm saying. What I said was still correct. You were just misunderstanding what I'm saying. Let me again, double down here. Continuing, DaBaby goes on and says, anybody who done ever been affected by AIDS and HIV, y'all got the right to be upset. What I said was insensitive, even though I have no intentions of offending anybody, so my apologies, per emoji. But the LGBT community, I ain't tripping on y'all. Do you, y'all business is y'all business. So like, first of all, there's this conflation of the LGBTQ plus community with like HIV and AIDS, which like people of all, like straight people get AIDS too.
Anybody can get it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And second of all, this is the fake concession apology. I feel like I'm dissecting Ben Shapiro videos again, where it's like fake concessions where it doesn't matter to you. Oh, if you got HIV and AIDS, I get it. Maybe you could be upset, but like whatever. And he says my apologies, but he also says you digested what I said wrong. So whatever. His publicist is great. It's probably just him. And then he says, and for any brands, networks, or artists that like to profit off of black rappers and influence on the culture without understanding it or having the patience to deal with what comes with the position we play in our culture, keep your money next time. Us niggas human too. #God bless. And this gets to the other thing from the first tweet that I wanted to get at. And this is conflation of black culture with bigotry towards the LGBTQ plus community that has been like often conflated and often noted, but like it's worth noting here before we get into like the response to all of this stuff, because there's a response and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, like there is noted and has been noted in culture and just like in history, a lot of bigotry and homophobia in the black community more broadly. B, there have been strides made in recent decades, just as there have been in the broader country more broadly, in the LGBT community for Black people. You have more representation of people from all across like the gender spectrum, all those different things, from in media, in music, etc. Just in reflecting in culture more broadly, there's still battles still need to be fought, but there's increasing amount of rights for the LGBTQ plus community. Like we said, visibility for Black people in that intersectionality aspect of things is very good, but this isn't just a Black people issue, right? To conflate bigotry and bigoted ideas about HIV and AIDS and LGBTQ things and say, oh no, this is just Black culture. This is what it is. And to hear other Black people saying that and using it as a defense, saying, oh, y'all will cancel them over anything, or trying to make it like a versus Black people thing by saying, oh, these same people who are upset never said anything about Black Lives Matter, when we were talking on Power Report and bleeding into Audioface a little bit about performative shit around Black Lives Matter and how some people in the music industry, artists and like CEOs and other things, included businesses, et cetera, and through the ancillary, were like really on it with Black Lives Matter thing.
It,
and some people were really legitimate and they were coming from a good place. Like I was talking with someone the other day about how the Black Squares thing started with Black people in the music industry who were talking about and wanted to show solidarity. And then it got co-opted by white people in other spaces and became like this larger performative thing, right? So this conflation here is nonsense. Again, DaBaby does not know what he's talking about. He's flailing in damage control mode, but damage control from what, you might ask? Well, first of all, this is just where it gets kind of boondocks funny, because there's a brand called Boohoo. and they have like, you know, it's a clothing brand, and so they have Boohoo Man, but they had a clothing line called Boohoo DaBaby. and you know, they've apologized. They said they've dropped the clothing line. You know, his stuff was bigoted and they don't want to stand with it. That's kind of just, you know, the thing that was going on. So the Boohoo x DaBaby collab, boondock shit, I swear. That's beautiful. Gone. Elton John of all people. Like, you know, actually, I'm going to go to Elton John a little bit because Elton John did respond. But I think the one that makes a little bit more sense here is Dua Lipa, because Dua Lipa had a remix of Levitating that featured DaBaby that was always very weird to me, because Dua Lipa sounds perfectly fine on Levitating as a solo thing. DaBaby kind of felt like one of those rap artists I was like kind of forced. And like, all cards on the table here, I don't think DaBaby's like the trashiest like artist. Like, he's a decent rapper and he does like the rapid thing very quickly and has like a solid vocabulary here, but it just didn't feel like the right match for a song. It's like I think there's a posthumous Pop Smoke and Dua Lipa song as well that just like didn't totally match right. And it's not that Dua Lipa can't work with rappers or vice versa. It was just, again, we're music critics, that's what we do here. But Dua Lipa kind of posted a response saying, quote, I'm surprised and horrified at DaBaby's comments. I don't recognize this as the person I work with. I know my fans where my heart lies. I stand 100% with the LGBTQ community. We need to come together and fight the stigma and ignorance around HIV and AIDS. So slowly you're seeing Dua Lipa and like her people remove the DaBaby Levitating version from like playlists and things like that. So you're just getting like the solo versions. So that's kind of like a clean thing kind of there. But you have some artist backlash, you have some company backlash, you have Elton John, who, again, this kind of seems weird from kind of jumping in here, but when you bring it into the larger context of musicians and LGBTQ representation and like misinformation about HIV and AIDS, Elton John kind of led a charge with a lot of other musicians in countering a lot of what DaBaby said and using the moment to bring out about some like actual factual information, saying that yeah, like HIV has affected over 70 million people globally, men, women, and children, and the most vulnerable people in our communities. In America, a gay Black man has a 50% lifetime chance of contracting HIV. But that being said, like, you can live a long, healthy life, and treatment is so advanced that with one pill a day, it can become undetectable in your body, so you can't pass it on to other people. And so Elton John kind of finishes his statement by saying, homophobic and HIV mistruths have no place in our society and industry, and as musicians, we must spread compassion and love for the most marginalized people in our communities. A musician's job is to bring people together. And so it was a really classy statement from Elton John there. And, you know, I know, Sean, you have your like qualms with him as a person. I'm not sure those are really true, but in this statement, he really just instantly really came up correct.
It's just funny. It's like in 2021, we still got to do this. Like, goddamn, this isn't 1983, okay? Like, wow.
Yeah, like, we still out here. And the last one, as we get less of the response here, and because remember, DaBaby's going to be responding to this continually. He continues to respond to Questlove. And so there's a lot of critique here, again, I think is wrong, that, oh, everyone will do whatever they want to take down a black artist. Here's Questlove from The Roots, who is kind of jumping on and saying, listen, there are a lot of artists who I think were really cool. And like, there's like a dream list of summer soul artists I really want to go on. And he mentioned a lot of like really cool artists. I'm trying to see if I can get the post here. Yeah, it was A Tribe Called Quest, Isley Brothers, Rihanna, Sade, Meg Thee Stallion, Hiatus Coyote, Salt, which we almost reviewed this week on Audioface. We'll try to get to in a future week. And then you have DaBaby listed, and DaBaby was crossed out there, kind of pointing out, and, you know, Questlove's statement wasn't the most like, it wasn't polished, it wasn't like planned out. He was just kind of very clear and saying, listen, I'm just getting my thoughts here, because he's saying, and I'm quoting him now, it's 2021 and fuck the bullshit, end quote. But just kind of saying that's very much what Sean, you were saying there, right there. Go back in the quote, I'm especially not here for any savagery. If you're lost, Google the idiocy of the crossed out. I'm not trying to be all performative and stuff and create a social flogging or start some clickbait headlines. That's missing the point. But right is right and his actions are wrong. Somebody got to say it. Homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, misogyny, racism. This should all go without saying it's morally wrong. DaBaby responded to... like, again, this isn't just nobody here. I guess a lot of new people like may not like know this, and DaBaby's clearly pretending not to know this. But DaBaby was basically responding like, I'm not even trying to be, quote, I'm not even trying to be funny when I say, I don't know who this nigga is, dog. He was going off on an Instagram story. I don't care about losing you as my fan, my boy Questlove. You or any other nigga who wants to play follow the leader. This superstar you as a fan of is standing up. Yeah, you never seen one of these, huh? And he just kind of continues, kind of goes on. It's funny because DaBaby and Questlove performed together 2 years ago. Let's pretend, for example, like DaBaby had never heard of Questlove before. Like, y'all performed together 2 years ago, and also Questlove is in The Roots. That's like hip hop and rap royalty. That's your genre, bro. It's not an own to say you don't know who Questlove is when you're a rapper. Like, so it's fucking terrible. And like, there's this conflation in things of black culture and homophobia that I'm glad Questlove is like standing up and saying these two things are separate here, and there's no need to celebrate the two as if they're the same thing. And again, like, there's still plenty of homophobia and bigotry that folks in other communities of color, and also that's also talked about oftentimes in white communities as well. So like, it's all around, it's part of human culture, but the context matters and when you're talking about it. And then DaBaby dropped the video. Y'all motherfuckers thought we was done. Then DaBaby dropped the video, all right?
The video.
It's called Giving What It's Supposed to Give. It's self-directed by him. It features his uncle. And he tells people not to fight hate with hate, which is... It's this like... It's a sleight of hand thing where I'm going to do the bigoted thing, but any response to it to me is actually bigoted. Any response to me being hateful is actually hateful. And if this were a true world, we'd actually get to just like be side to side and just like keep things together, right? But no, this video is wild, and like, it was definitely shot before all this stuff happened. But at one point, he raps, quote, this is a Boondocks episode. Bitch, we like AIDS. I'm on your ass. We on your ass. Bitch, we don't go away. And bitch, we don't go away. And then that's the end of the lyric. And he holds up a sign in the video that says AIDS. This is a Boondocks episode. The video itself is wild. It has a lot of like insane imagery. Yeah. There's like a white woman appearing to like give him head, and there's like a censored like kind of thing in the middle of it. So like, that's a vibe. Honestly, at least some male in the rap game is like stepping up the raunchiness in the music videos, because women were killing it. Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, especially. But like, that video came out, only adding fuel to the fire. And, you know, at this point, he still has defenders. There's Tory Lanez, who very recently just tweeted, quote, "Don't let all of our black kings get extinct before you release it. Was you who helped. There's definitely an attack on the black man's legacy. Don't be a part of it."
I hope he meant realize and not release, because I had to read that thing about 6 times before it could make sense.
Pause again, granddad. And so also T.I. mentioned
Hi.
also T.I. mentioned that kind of the same point earlier that we just kind of refuted just now. Everyone's up, quoting T.I., everyone's up in arms about what DaBaby said. I understand what people are saying and feel it's insensitive. Guys have a right to understand that on stage, that's not the place for rappers to go and be sensitive and soothe anybody's feelings. It's the place to go and have a good time. He goes on and later says, you don't get to condemn people just because they think differently than you. That's not equality. That's not justice. And that's not hip hop being honest. He's kind of just going on at this point and saying that it's not equality to be upset about people who like say things you don't like. And yeah, that's true broadly speaking, but there's a difference between like, there's a broad thing in between like, oh, we have a disagreement about a sports team versus like, you're saying things about like my community and people in this community are being killed actively because they believe in this bullshit. And a lot of these people are fans of your fucking music. So like there has to be a realization of that. Nevertheless, DaBaby quintuples down, tweeting. Oh yeah, he sent the apologies thing earlier, but he says also, oh wait, no, this is like all of this same thing. I'm just making sure I had all that stuff right. But anyways, we come down to this week, and now we're at DaBaby has decided to perform Lollapalooza. He was scheduled to perform Lollapalooza, and Lollapalooza decided to boot him.
Dropped his ass.
Yeah, too much for COVID-19 Palooza. They're fine to spread that disease, but not the disease of DaBaby. That was a little to the line. Anyways, Lollapalooza said, quote, they were founded on diversity, inclusivity, respect, and love. With that in mind, DaBaby will no longer be performing at Grant Park tonight. Yeesh.
All of can I have a hot take?
Absolutely.
All of this, he's doing all of this because I swear to God, this guy is secretly gay. Like he's just secretly in the closet because he's so scared of his own self and everything. He does all these things to hide for it. I swear. Like
No.
Dan and I were having this conversation. Like that's like it's got like that. It's just a Boondocks episode in front of our faces.
Yeah, the story of Gangstalicious is about kind of figuring out whether or not this mainstream rapper is gay or not. And it's there's one context where you can read it in the modern context of right, like again, removed from this like Boondocks theory, right? Where Donald Trump proved that the way to avoid cancel culture and to kind of like pretend it doesn't exist to you is kind of face it head on and just be continue to be more obnoxious and offensive and just say you're speaking these truths that other people are attacking you for speaking, instead of just saying, no, other people are attacking you because you're fucking wrong and you're acting as though you're right and you're empowering idiots to be at best hateful and like kind of rude and mean, and at worst actually violent and like deadly. Okay, so that's one of the angles here, but the other angle is he's also overreacting to this and constantly responding to this because he has severe anxieties personally around homosexuality and gayness.
Yeah, 100%.
And like you see this, there's a lot of, for a long time, there's a lot of homophobia in like sports in the NBA. And then you had for a while that it turned out a lot of NBA players were seeing like trans escorts and like models and things like that. Cause so like that's not to hate on them per se for what they're doing, but that is to say there's a double standard with the bullshit that people are spreading and the sometimes homophobia and the bigotry that is oftentimes in rap music that we kind of just push aside because there's so much of it. Like to address it every single time would make this the whole podcast, but it's there. It's part of culture. It's part of like the lexicon in which the way people speak. So there's a double standard there between how much you're talking about it, how much you're getting into it, and how much you're trying to distance yourself away from it versus like, yeah, there's a lot of artists. Vince Staples had a time where like Lil Nas X was flirting with him, and Vince Staples curved it in a way that was neither homophobic, but also didn't like lead him on or anything. Like it's like, I'm not interested. Like, yeah, it's 8 a.m. Right? And so like there's there's ways to go about this. There's ways to also say, hey, listen, I'm uninformed. I took an L. I'm just doing some ignorant nigga shit. Like, I'm sorry. Let's like, listen, I don't hate people. I got gay fans, whatever. Could have stopped it there. But he kept digging and he kept digging. And that's what makes me consider Sean's theory.
Exactly. Especially the music video. Like, that's the thing that really did it for me, was that part. I'm like, you don't just randomly do that. Especially in this day and age.
Yeah. There's just there's a lot going on there, and we just went into a big ass segment, more than I really wanted to talk about DaBaby, honestly. But there we go. And definitely check out the story of Gangstalicious parts 1 and 2. Not sponsored, but we talk about the Boondocks all the time, and I think those 2 episodes are on HBO Max. So if you've got that, just check that out.